And there we go, everyone. We are back again for another fantastic conversation on Friday Night Counter Attack. And unlike last year when I went away on my little travels and I came back to do a podcast, I'm not going to do a podcast when I'm out and about. I'd rather do it when I'm back with all my setup, with my gear, and my main man, Travis. So, Travis, it's good to have you back on the podcast, my friend. How are you doing this week?
Good to be here. Yeah, not too bad. Little bit busy, but it's all good stuff.
Liking the threads there. It's a nice design you've got wearing.
Yeah, shout out to Hamza for this one. The beautiful AC Milan shirt gifted to me. Thought I'd give it a debut on the podcast tonight.
And I'm the one without the football shirt tonight because my football shirts are in the wash and I've not cleaned them properly. So I have to make do with a normal off-brand shirt and the camera angle that we've got here. So it's perfectly fine either way, which is all good. But yeah, if you're tuning into this podcast, we are doing another draft. And it's just between me and Travis this time. So it's going to be quite fun to get going with this one, as this is basically an all-time Scandinavian 11 podcast. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this draft will work as well. 4-4-2 formation. We're going to be talking about some of the best ever players to play in Scandinavia and across the world, and to win Champions League, to win Premier Leagues, La Ligas, all sorts. And there's so much to talk about with some of these amazing players. And it's going to be quite wild because a lot of these amazing players, Travis, are strikers. So it's going to be quite difficult if we're going to do a 4-4-2 formation and trying to fit them all in. And I just kind of wanted to know before we get into it, like, what's your main kind of thought process on a Scandinavian footballer now from when you were growing up? Because now 2 of the best 5 players in the Premier League are Scandinavian. Back, let's say 10 years ago, it wasn't really the case, was it, Travis? What do you think?
No, you're quite right. It's the profile of football in these nations seems to be improving massively, sort of year on year. And like you say, we've obviously right now, they both happen to be Norwegian, but yeah, 2 players in Odegaard and Haaland who are 2 of the best players in our league. It's quite nice to see, really. Obviously, you want to see different nations thriving and playing well and having great players. We don't want, all the best players in the world to come from Germany or Spain or Brazil. So it's quite nice to see, to be fair.
Good diversity there, and I'm looking forward to seeing who we can mention and who we can kind of remember on this all-time list as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got and where we're kind of going with this one as well. So for everyone listening, play along as you normally do, and do share on our social medias when you do set up your all-time Scandinavian draft. And let's get into it, Travis. We're going for wild cards first. We're going for goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and attackers in the 4-4-2 variation of your choice. For everyone listening, there's a maximum of 3 players per nation. So we can't go all the way Swedish. We definitely can't go all the way Danish. And we definitely can't go all the way Norwegian as well. So we're going to have to find loopholes in Finland, find loopholes in Faroe Islands, and definitely find loopholes in Iceland as well. And we're going to have to try and find the best Scandinavian team with a limit of 3 players per nation. Let's go, Travis. Let's go. I'm ready for this one. The jet lag definitely isn't talking, but actually you don't get jet lag. Everyone says you don't get jet lag for 2 hours, but I feel jet lagged all the time, even when I don't fly. But yeah, let's get into this, Travis. We're flying all the way off to Scandinavia for our Scandinavian draft of all time. Your first choice as your wild card. And again, it's not Premier League related. It's all time from all leagues. So by all means, go for it, Travis. Let's go.
It's funny you say it's not Premier League related. My wild card is going to be a Premier League player, a current Premier League player.
Shock.
It's probably
that's a shock, isn't it, everyone?
Easiest selection ever, Erling Haaland.
Days.
I was very, 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 very tempted with a certain very tall Swedish striker. But no, I just think Haaland's the real deal, isn't he? He's unbelievable. So yeah, Erling Haaland is my my wild card.
Hold on now. We big up our wild cards quite a lot on this podcast. And if I'm going to big up Erling Haaland, I've got to ask you the all-important question. Could Erling Haaland be the best ever Scandinavian footballer of all time? What do you think?
I'd say, I'm not going to say he's already the best.
Oh, that would have been proper Premier League bias right there.
He's already up there, isn't he? I mean, if you think of players with, obviously, quality-wise, he's definitely up there massively. I think what's holding him back at the moment is just the fact that he's so young and he hasn't got the legacy of, say, an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a Zlatan Ibrahimovic. In terms of quality, he's got to be one of the very best, if not the best. I'd probably say like top 3 Scandinavian players of all time already, but he's definitely got the potential to be number 1 if he carries on the way he's going.
I think with the quality that he's got now, all he has to do it is on the international stage. When Erling Haaland does it on the international stage, that's when it will become scary for the world, because we're seeing it at Manchester City. But in a way, a lot of people have just accepted defeat with Manchester City, with how good they are under Pep Guardiola. Over the last 6 Premier League seasons, have won 5 Premier League trophies. So it's not that much different domestically. It's just in the Champions League when he's gone above and beyond to score 4 or 5 goals against RB Leipzig in different ties as well, getting them to the Champions League final and doing quite well in that respect in that final. Even though he didn't score, he did really well against that back three defense of Inter Milan. But it goes to show that Erling Haaland has the world at his feet right at this moment in time. Champions League fans will be loving watching him against this quite easy group that they've got going on. And in the Premier League, he makes it look very easy for Manchester City, that you're just like, oh, has he just scored 2 goals this week? Yeah, he has, but that's what we expect from Erling Haaland these days. And unfortunately, it's great to see from a neutral point of view, but as I'm a Man United fan, I can't really enjoy it as much as I wanted to, because there was a time when Erling Haaland could have joined Manchester United, and that will be a big pain. Because to be fair, if he did join Man United, like a lot of big Man United signings, it would have just gone downhill. So wouldn't have been the best of moves for Erling Haaland. One player who did move to Manchester United, and it wasn't a big money signing, it was a free signing, was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So coming back from Sweden, I asked a lot of Swedish fans who is their greatest player of all time. All but one said Zlatan Ibrahimovic. One fan said someone else who hopefully I'll get to mention later on. But Zlatan Ibrahimovic is the carbon copy of what a striker would be like nowadays as well. Everyone wants to design their perfect striker of what they would look like. They look at Erling Haaland. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was the original in terms of a Scandinavian maestro with the ball. He could control the ball in midair. He could score amazing headers, acrobatics. The acrobatic goal he scored for Sweden in that friendly against England back in 2012-2013 season was unreal. Scoring 4 goals against England. But Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a journeyman, and he went to different countries, won leagues in different countries, won big trophies in different countries. And I have to put him in my team, because I know for a fact, if you have Zlatan and Haaland in your team as your front two, Travis, there's no way in hell I'm winning this. So I've got to keep, I've got to keep Zlatan away from you by all means necessary. And you've kind of forced my hand there for picking Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So Erling Haaland for you, Zlatan Ibrahimovic for me. But it means I picked one of my Swedish players already, which I'm not looking forward to later on in this podcast. But yeah, any thoughts on Zlatan Ibrahimovic when you were growing up? What was the kind of feeling for you watching Zlatan Ibrahimovic for like Inter Milan or Juventus or PSG when you were kind of enjoying the Swedish maestro? Lions don't compare themselves to humans.
To be fair, I didn't see too much of Zlatan growing up. By the time I'd grown up enough to be into football, he was already at PSG. So my opinion of him was he was a bit of a, maybe not necessarily overrated, but he's playing in an easy league, banging goals in against Farmers. And when he came to United, honestly,
that's what Erling Haaland's doing now. He's playing against Farmers.
You're not wrong, to be fair. But yeah, when he came to United, I was of the opinion, oh, he's going to get exposed here. He was what, 35, 36 when he came to United?
36 when he came to Man United.
And I was of the opinion, oh, he's going to be, past it. He's going to be exposed at United. It's the first time he's played in a hard league in 10 years, etc., etc. And he just proved me totally and completely wrong. He was one of the best players United have signed in the post Sir Alex Ferguson era. Probably, just thinking off the top of my head, I can't really think of anyone who's performed better for the club who's been signed since Fergie left.
Bruno
Fernandes is up there. Yeah, he came to mind immediately after finishing that sentence.
But even me, I'm thinking of all the good players, and you're thinking of someone like Daley Blind, who was good at what he did for £14 million. But then you're thinking of someone like Anthony for £80 million, who we won't talk about now. But it goes to show the value of a player isn't in the transfer fee; it's in what they can actually bring to the team. And Zlatan Ibrahimovic definitely did that for free, as opposed to 80 million, 90 million, 100 million pound players that Man United have spent recklessly on over the last 10 years, which is embarrassing.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing is, obviously, you've just signed Hojlund, another Scandinavian striker. He's Danish, isn't he? Yeah,
he is.
How much was it? About 70 million, something like that, Hojlund?
Yeah, 65, 70 million with add-ons and all of that.
Put it this way, if Hojlund has the same output as Zlatan had for United, um, he'll go down as a great signing at 70 million at 20
That's
odd years
true.
old.
That's true.
Zlatan came and did that as a 36-year-old on a free transfer. That's big stuff from Zlatan. I was very, very impressed by him when he came to the Premier League. I thought it was a shame when he left. I think he had a couple of little injury issues, didn't he?
He had a big injury. He got
yeah,
an ACL injury against I think Anderlecht in the Europa League, and that took him out for like 6-7 months, and he still continued playing, and that's like a career-threatening injury at that time of a career as well. 35, 36 years old as well.
At that age, that's a career ender 9 times out of 10. Yeah, anyone but Zlatan, basically.
Literally, like he said before, lions don't recover like humans as well. And yes, that is how Zlatan Ibrahimovic did talk, referring to himself as a lion, as did I when I was in Sweden, and as does Travis every time he plays football. So it's as good as gold, which is great. But yeah, that also brings me to that point I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about Harry Kane being £100 million bargain. It could be the case as well of him scoring quite a lot of goals, but for £100 million, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to justify.
He's going to get most of those goals against Man United in the Champions League, I think.
Both ties, match week 1 and match week 6, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to go to the games at all. I don't need to go and watch Man United. I'll watch something else on TV at the time. I'll watch like a
Put EastEnders on.
I'll put a Ahsoka on Disney Plus. I was meant to watch that, and like, we watched it when it came back. I was like, oh, it's just a fun show. I'll watch it properly later on. No spoilers for anyone who's watching this as well. But yeah, that's our wild cards. Erling Haaland and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We're right and we're ready about the Scandinavian all-time draft. This is no joke, people. Goalkeepers, Travis, where are you going with this one? You picked already a Norwegian player. Are you going to go for a Norwegian goalkeeper as well?
I probably couldn't name a Norwegian goalkeeper off the top of my head. What I can name is a Danish goalkeeper, a very good one. I'm going to go for Peter Schmeichel, as you probably would have guessed.
So you're going for the biggest and best Scandinavian goalkeeper, potentially even one of the best goalkeepers in Premier League history, potentially one of the best goalkeepers in Manchester United's history, and you're picking him for your team. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good for me. I'm too generous with these picks of letting you go first.
You really are too generous. Yeah,
that's how I have to challenge myself though. So yeah, Peter Schmeichel, talk to me, Travis. What can you tell us about him that a lot of fans don't know already?
I probably couldn't tell you anything that people don't know about Schmeichel, but one thing I would say as to why he walks into my team is I think any draft that Peter Schmeichel could possibly be involved in, he probably would get into the team. I can't think of, if you went Champions League draft, he's probably in a lot of people's teams. Man United draft, he's in everyone's. Premier League, he's probably in most people's. A Scandinavian draft, I think he just walks into. So yeah, I was hoping I was going to get the first pick with goalkeeper, so I could throw him in there, because I think looking at the rest of the options, he's the safest choice. Other than Haaland, he was the one that I wanted most. So happy I've got him.
Nah, it's all good, because I need to go for someone who I'm gonna play a bit of a long game with this one as well, and I'm gonna go for Jussi Jääskeläinen with this one. I didn't like any of the Swedish keepers, Isaacson, Rob Olsen, embarrassing goalkeepers. How is the backup goalkeeper for Aston Villa the number 1 goalkeepers for Sweden? I will never know. They deserve better, these Swedish fans, and he was awful when I went to watch him. Everyone watch my matchday vlog. It's already out now. It's on YouTube. Go ahead and enjoy it, of Sweden versus Austria. But yeah, I'm going for Jussi Jääskeläinen, the Bolton cult hero, or legend as they would call him. As a Premier League cult hero for sure. Finnish goalkeeper for quite a few number of years in the Premier League, played at Bolton and West Ham respectively. It's just basically because, like I said, I need to diversify my team, and I think this is one of the 3 positions where I think I can diversify my team with a different nation as opposed to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, which will be the main 3 as well. So yeah, I'm going for Jussi Jääskeläinen. Let's go to right back. Where's your first choice right back going for this one, Travis?
It's really tough, this, because looking at the options there aren't really any. So I feel like I'm going to probably have to shunt somebody out to right back from centre half.
You're not putting Kulusevski right back, are you?
No, I can't do that to my boy. Not after his performance at the weekend. But
he was awful against Austria, but he's sick against Sheffield United on the highlights. And I'm just kind of there like, you can't do it for your country, but you can do it for your club. And then the same with Isak as well. Alexander Isak was just there, like, just couldn't do anything, couldn't score any chances. And then against for Newcastle, just like, yeah, it's cool. I'm back to normal. I'm like, nah, didn't like it at all. Then again, it happened with Victor Lindelof as well. Awful against Brighton and then awful against Austria as well. So wasn't great for Victor Lindelof as well. But who are you shutting out to your right back position?
I'm going to diversify here. Three different nations for the three different positions so far. I'm going for a Finnish centre back at right back. And that's going to be Sami Hyypiä.
No, how are you putting
Liverpool player?
How are you putting Sami Hyypiä at right back, man? Oh my days!
I just think if I'm looking at the remainder of the centre back options, although Hyypiä I would say is the best centre back on the list, I also think he's the most capable. If I was going to want to put any of them at right back, I'd probably want to put him there because I feel like he's going to be best suited to playing there. There's a Danish centre back that I really want, but I think he's left footed, so I wouldn't put him right back. And then the other options I just wouldn't feel comfortable putting them there. I think Hyypiä was so dependable at the back that you probably could have put him anywhere across the back four and he'd have done a job. So although it's probably a little bit disrespectful to him because, like I say, he's probably the best centre back on that list, I'm going to go for Sami Hyypiä at right back.
Nicely done. My right back, I'm going to go for a Danish right back, and I'm going to go for Joachim Mæhle. One of the key players for Denmark in that instrumental European Championship run in 2021 for the Euros 2020. He scored an amazing goal. He also played as a inverted left back as well, so he can play on both flanks. So he's definitely going to make it into my team with the versatility that he has as well. So Joachim Mæhle is my first Danish player in my team, and at right back, which is pretty good. What else is pretty good, Travis, is your first choice of centre back, because I think I know who you're picking for your first choice. So let's hear it, my friend. Where are you going with this one?
I'm going for someone who I've always had a soft spot for. I think one of the most underrated centre backs in my lifetime in the Premier League, Daniel Agger. I'm going for. Used to play for Liverpool. I just think he was really, really good. I think he was also a little bit ahead of his time in that he was quite good on the ball. I think he would fit into modern day systems a little bit more than he would necessarily fit into systems in the sort of late 2000s when he was at Liverpool. But yeah, Daniel Agger is my first choice.
With Daniel Agger as well, this is a time where Liverpool were kind of challenging for top four. They were challenging for the league as well. And one thing that I never really got with Rafa Benitez, and it really annoyed me, was the fact that he'd always played Jamie Carragher and Skrtel, Jamie Carragher and Daniel Agger. We never played Skrtel and Agger together because I think that would have been a lethal partnership.
They were the best partnership.
They were the best pair, and people are like, oh, you can't get rid of Carragher. It is Liverpool through and through. And I'm like, that was, even at the time, it was such an old-fashioned notion to play players because they're from that academy, they're from that team. They wanted to win. If Liverpool really wanted to win, unpopular opinion from my point of view, and I think Travis you'd agree as well, Daniel Agger and Martin Skrtel would have been a title challenging centre-back partnership as well. And it was something that I thought wasn't really the case for Liverpool. But yeah, great shout with Daniel Agger. Loved the long-range shot, loved the header as well. Got to the Champions League final with Liverpool in 2007 in his first season, if I remember correctly as well. So yeah, fantastic centre-back for Daniel Agger to be in your team. My first centre-back, I'm going for Ronny Johnsen. He was a centre-back that was instrumental for Manchester United in the 1999 treble-winning season, where he did have Peter Schmeichel behind him as well. But it goes to show that Ronny Johnsen is probably the least mentioned player in that starting 11 in the 1999 treble-winning season for Man United. Travis earlier said that we're the dream team and we're like Cole and York. I think we could have been like Jaap Stam and Ronny Johnsen at centre back as well. Next time we're playing football, Travis, we'll just be like those two as well, which is incredible. But Ronny Johnsen was a fantastic ball playing centre back as well. He was someone who could clean up and sweep up after fast attackers, and he was deceivingly quick as a centre back as well. The fact that he played for Manchester United for the years that he did. He had a really good podcast with the Man United podcast, and it was great to learn about his point of view as well coming into the side. And that was when foreigners weren't as popular in terms of big transfers, and he was a small transfer coming into the side. So the Norwegian centre-back, Ronny Johnsen, is my first choice centre-back, which will be good fun. Good fun.
Very nice.
Centre-back number 2 for you. Where are you going with this one?
I'm picking this one more so to diversify. I'm going to get my first Swedish player in there. I'm going for Victor Lindelof. because at the minute I've got two Danish players, a Norwegian and a Finnish player. So Victor Lindelof's going to be my first Swedish choice. Probably wouldn't have been my first choice centre back. There's a couple more on this list that I'm looking at that I probably prefer the look of, but I'm very aware that I'm rushing through my options. And I think Lindelof's solid. I quite like Lindelof. I think in a more steady team with a leader of a centre half next to him, he's a decent enough centre back, especially as a squad player. So yeah, I'm going for Victor Lindelof.
Damn it. I'm so insulted that you picked him in your team, but I'm also impressed that you picked him in your team because you said you wanted to diversify from where we went from him as well. So I don't blame you at all. He's a fantastic player to have in your team for your all-time Scandinavian team, captain of Sweden at this moment in time as well. Someone who used to take free kicks for Benfica, actually, and used to take free kicks for Sweden. Now at Manchester United, he's just used as like, annoyingly, sometimes used as a scapegoat because we don't have many great centre-backs at this moment in time for Manchester United. But yeah, Victor Lindelof is a fantastic choice for you. Good choice for your Swedish pick as well. That was your first one, wasn't it? First Swedish pick.
Yes, first Swedish pick, yeah.
Nicely done. So you stole Hippier, you stole Lindelof
Schmeichel
from me. So definitely stole Schmeichel from me as well. I've now got to remember. So I've got Jaskalainen, I've got Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I've got Joachim Mæhle. So I've got Sweden, I've got Finland, and I've got Denmark.
And Norway.
And I've got Norway. So because you've taken Haaland, I think I'll go for another Norway centre-back. I'm going to go for Henning Berg. He's a centre-back that used to play for Manchester United as well. He was also around a time when Manchester United won the treble, and he's a three-time Premier League winning centre-back as well. He won it with Blackburn Rovers, and he won it twice with Manchester United as well. So I have to go for another centre-back instead of going for a Danish centre-back, which I probably should have gone for, but I know I may need a Danish player later on down the line as well. So I'm going to use my centre-backs early in Norway ×2 with Henning Berg. Actually, no, I have to just double-check. Is Henning Berg from Norway?
He is Norwegian. Yeah.
He's Norwegian. Yeah. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah. Left back. Go for it, Travis.
I'm a little bit stuck here because I
can only think of two for left back. So
yeah, I'm thinking two options, but I don't know. My first pick is a very obvious Norwegian.
Go for it.
I'm trying to decide whether I want to save my Norwegian picks.
You know you want to do it. Do it.
I'm going to go for it. Yeah, I'm going to go for John Arne Riise at left back. In my opinion, probably the best left back on the list by quite a long way. There was a sort of streets won't forget shout for me at left back, which I'm hoping you're going to pick. If you don't, I'll give you a little shout out to him. But no, Riise just had it all. He was powerful, quick, had an absolute bullet of a left foot on him. Yeah, quality player. I think he was one of those players that everyone liked regardless of the club, just because he was so unique.
Alan Smith didn't like him. He broke Alan Smith's ankle from a free kick. That's how powerful his shot was, which was unreal. Alan Smith charged up from a free kick to try and block this free kick. It's one of those free kicks where you like tap it and then the player runs onto it, circa Roberto Carlos type free kick. And then his ankle just snapped, and I was like, "Oh my days, this is painful." And it was really, really bad as well from Alan Smith. But John Arne Riise had a powerful left foot as well. Played in the Premier League for a long period of time as well. And realistically, I think we all know him from his Liverpool days as well as his Fulham days as well. But yeah, nice shout out there for John Arne Riise. And for me personally, I have to go for this one for diversification. Shout out to all the defenders we didn't pick. So I'm going to go for Andreas Christensen, Martin Laursen, Olof Mellberg. That's kind of it from my point of view. But I'm going to have to go for Herman Hreidarsson as my left back. Former Portsmouth left back, I think he was.
Portsmouth, yeah.
Yeah, Portsmouth left back is from Finland. So that's another Finnish player out of my list as well, which is perfectly fine. So I'm really happy with the fact that I could go for Herman Hreidarsson, who I've seen in the Premier League. He had done really good in the big games for Portsmouth, and I believe he was an FA Cup winner as well for Portsmouth back in 2008. So, yes, that's the end of our defence and our goalkeepers. I think you've won that pretty convincingly. So now it's time to try and claw something back for me from my side. So, midfielders, I'll start with this one, which will be perfectly fine. I'm going for a 4-4-2. I'm going to go for a 4-4-2 flat. So I'm going to go for a 4-4-2 flat
Yeah, me too.
Because there's a few wingers I can put into this, but it's more along the lines of the strikers that I want. So I'm going to go for a 4-3-2 flat. So right midfielder, I'm going to go for someone who I can't not have him in my team. It's Freddie Ljungberg. So Freddie Ljungberg has to be my guy at right mid for the Arsenal Invincible. He was an Arsenal Invincible in the 2003-2004 season. And I believe I saw him when I was in Stockholm as well. He was wearing a green cap. I was recording on my GoPro. I was walking around Stockholm, and I'm just like, I'm sure that's Freddie Ljungberg. And then when I said out loud, is that Freddie Ljungberg? He walked ever so quick. So I couldn't find him after I crossed the road. I was like, where is this guy going? And then my wife was like, where did he go? I was like, I might chase him, And then I was like, let me try and chase him. So I tried to chase after Freddie Ljungberg. And if I get the GoPro footage out later, and I actually do find it, if that is Freddie Ljungberg, I'm going to clip this up, put the video of me chasing Freddie Ljungberg across Stockholm, and it will be quite funny. But yeah, Freddie Ljungberg is an all-time Arsenal great. He's someone that will be a Premier League cult hero for what he's done in the Premier League. He was in the Swedish 2002 World Cup squad and 2006 World Cup. He was imperative to how Sweden played football, and he was their main man before a young Zlatan Ibrahimovic came onto the stage as well, and another certain striker who we may mention later took center stage as well. So unfortunately for me, that's number 2 pick for Freddie Ljungberg for my team as well. So where are we going with this one, Travis? Are we sticking with Sweden, or are we going elsewhere for your pick?
I think anyone who's listened to me do drafts before knows how biased I am to try and get Tottenham players in there wherever I can. And this one's just an open goal. So, yeah, stick with the same nation. Dejan Kulusevski is going in at right midfield for me.
Excellent choice.
He's the kind of player I think would actually be brilliant in a flat 4-4-2 on the right-hand side. I think just playing a little bit deeper, I think he would be so
he's
good.
He's not. Because I saw him on the flat 4-4-2 against Austria, and he got all the space and all the time in the world, which is great. But his end product was lacking so much because he never had more runners going with him, which really annoyed me. His fullback was too far back. His centre midfielders was always hanging in the middle. And it was just like the two strikers, Isaacson and Jiraquez, I think, were the two strikers he had to aim in for as well. So I think if he had better quality in a flat 4-4-2, it would work really well. And he had a roaming centre midfielder, that would be excellent. But from what I saw in a flat 4-4-2, I'm like, just stick to that Ange system, mate. You were good with the Ange system. Kulusevski, and they want their manager sacked now, Sweden. So hopefully they get a new manager coming in, which would be great fun indeed. But yeah, shout out to Dejan Kulusevski, amazing footballer, former Juventus player, and obviously now a big player for Tottenham Hotspur, which is good. Centre midfielders, this will be very tricky for me. So I've used 2 from Finland, 2 from Sweden, 2 from Norway. There's a striker from Iceland I want to put in because he played as a midfielder in his latter years, but I'm not going to put him in because it will look stupid on a 4-4-2 flat. So I'm not going to put him into that place, and you may pick him later.
I think you've only used one Finnish player, actually, not 2. Two. At my notes are 2 Swedish, 2 Norwegian, 1 Finnish, 1 Danish, 1 Icelandic.
Oh yeah,
that makes 7. What you picked so far?
Where's Herman Hreidarsson from? Iceland.
Yeah,
okay, that's cool. So that's 1 Iceland. That's cool. So I can still use another Finnish player I've got in mind, but he's more of a striker as well. So even for B, you know what? Gung ho with it, Christian Eriksen. I'm taking him.
I really wanted him.
I'm taking him because I needed that flair. I needed the boy in midfield, and there's 3 more Danish midfielders I could put into the side, but instead of going for the best ever Danish midfielder, I went for Christian Eriksen, who will definitely be up there by the end of his career in terms of what he's done for his country. It's quite nice to go to the Copenhagen Stadium recently, and I got to see the Danish National Stadium, which is also where they play their games. It was a fantastic experience to see the stadium, how a lot of the locals still remember the Christian Eriksen incident back in the Euro 2021 game against Finland, I think it was. But it goes to show how well received and well loved the Danish national team is, and he still is a national hero. It's even like Simon Kjær. We didn't even mention Simon Kjær as one of our Danish players.
No, shout out to him, yeah.
Shout out to him especially, which was really good. Or Kasper Schmeichel as well. So got a shout out.
I thought you would pick him when I picked Peter. I thought you'd pick Kasper.
I'm doing this stupid thing of saving till later, but it's more like Russian roulette, this type of draft. And it's really annoying because I feel like I have to go for like an Icelandic striker to partner Zlatan Ibrahimovic later, which ain't going to be great at all. But yeah, Christian Eriksen is my guy. Just before we move on, Travis, being a Spurs fan and being a Man United fan, we both have a mutual respect and I would say, dare I say, a love for Christian Eriksen as well. Share with me your favourite Christian Eriksen moment in Tottenham Hotspur shirt.
Oh, that's a really good question. So many. The first one that immediately springs to mind was from 2015, I want to say, which was a FA Cup quarter-final, semi-final. I can't remember. A latter stage FA Cup game. We played Sheffield United.
Oh, that was the League Cup.
League Cup was it? Yeah, that makes more sense. We were drawing quite late on in the game, free kick, and he just popped up and smashed it in. There was also a period for Spurs in the 16-17 season where we won, I think, a good 4, 5, maybe 6 games in the space of a couple of months, either 1-0 or 2-1 or 3-2 by a single goal, where Eriksen popped up with a goal really late on, and it became a bit freaky. Clutch. Yeah, it came a bit freaky how often it was happening. But yeah, I mean, he's just had so many moments for Spurs. And look, I was gutted when he left. I really was. But with so many of the great players that have left Tottenham in the last few years, I couldn't blame him. Walker, Kane more recently, a couple of others as well. But people leaving because we have never had the ambition to match their ambition and what they want to do. So yeah, I can't say I ever blamed him for leaving Tottenham. I was just gutted to see him go.
No, it's a fantastic player and a player that we get to appreciate kind of now in Manchester United, but it's just playing in a different position. He's not as further forward as he once was, not even playing as a winger like he did in a Pochettino, an inverted winger. He's now playing as a deep playing playmaker, and annoyingly is getting sought after by a lot of fans online in terms of, he's not tracking back, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, but it's not his natural position. And I've always said with Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, if you want to play them together, you have to play them both as attacking midfielders. And I think on the weekend, Erik ten Hag was up to something in a 4-4-2 diamond when you've got 2 holding midfielders in Casemiro and McTominay to then allow Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes to flourish. But we just have to wait and see how he does. And I still think he gets ahead of Mason Mount in this Manchester United side, even when Mason Mount is fit. So I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully some more good memories of Christian Eriksen doing well for Manchester United. My favourite memory is probably the first time I got to watch him live for Manchester United, and that was against Real Sociedad. And it was just the fact that he had such poise and grace on the ball as well. And it's really annoying because in that game, Travis, he played as a CM, centre mid with Casemiro. And guess who played as an attacking midfielder behind Cristiano Ronaldo? I'll let you guess.
It's going to be someone ridiculous. McTominay?
He played Fred. Fred as an attacking midfielder. So I know you said on the weekend, like sometimes I like to back Erik ten Hag. Like sometimes you have to dig out the manager. First time I digged out the manager, I was like, why are you playing Fred as an attacking midfielder when you got Christian Eriksen, one of the best attacking midfielders in Premier League in recent Premier League history, as a CM next to Casemiro? It was embarrassing. I'm just like, still held his own, still did really good on the ball, and I just think with Christian Eriksen, it's just a joy of a player to watch. I can spend a good 5-10 minutes just watching Christian Eriksen on the ball, off the ball, finding positions, scanning the ball, and that's what great midfielders have done. And I genuinely believe Christian Eriksen might be in Spurs' list of top 5 midfielders of all time with how good he's been for Tottenham, even though they haven't really won anything when he was there. But in terms of the quality he delivered year in, year out for Tottenham Hotspur under Mauricio Pochettino especially, and in that developing young side that you had as well, I'd put that as a shout as Christian Eriksen being in the top 5 Spurs midfielders of all time. I'll let everyone mull over that, and I'll let Travis have a think about that as he moves on to his first choice centre midfielder.
Yeah, you've made it difficult for me there. He was my first choice all day long, but I've pivoted, I've moved along, and I think I'm going to go for Martin Odegaard. I'm going to put him in central midfield. I know it's not his natural position, but
it has to be done because I was going to go for Odegaard, but I knew you picked Eriksen, so I was like, it's one or the other for me. So I was like, it needed to be done.
Look, it pains me to say it because obviously he plays for Arsenal and he's their captain at the moment, but what a player. He's just so good. And I mean, people are talking a lot about this summer our signing of James Maddison for 40 million being a bargain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Odegaard, last summer whenever he joined permanently, I think he was around the same sort of fee. So if you're talking about Maddison being a bargain for 40 million, no one really seems to talk about it with Odegaard, but what a signing. He's just, yeah, so good. I'm really hoping that Man City come along and snatch him up to replace De Bruyne. So it takes a huge cog out of Arsenal's machine. But
I mean,
can't see that
apparently
happening.
they're calling Julian Alvarez Julian De Bruyne these days now as well because of his 2 assists on the weekend against West Ham. So they're getting a winger / striker into an attacking midfielder of De Bruyne-esque quality. So Pep Guardiola could mold him into anything he wants, really, which would be insane. So shout out to Martin Odegaard for being a fantastic player and actually making Arsenal a very enjoyable team to watch as well. His poise on the ball, his grace on the ball, we've spoken about his dribbling before. Goes to show how talented he is as a centre midfielder, and is one of your Norwegian picks. So he was potentially going to be my final Norwegian pick as well. I can't go for him just yet.
Yeah, it loses me a couple of options in that striker position, which I would have been looking at with some intent. But
You
no, I
picked the
think he's a
main
great
Norwegian
choice.
striker, Travis. You're fine. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it. You're
yeah,
fine.
that's
You're
true.
fine.
I don't need another one. Yeah,
You
we'll
could
mix
actually
it
go
up.
you could go for 4-5-1 if you needed to with a second striker if needs be.
Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah.
So I've got one more Danish pick that I'm going to chuck in right about now because I believe there's a winger on another country that I want to use. And I think I'll use him. So I'm going to go for Michael Laudrup as my centre midfielder to partner Christian Eriksen, who I alluded to earlier as being the best ever Danish footballer, outfield footballer besides Peter Schmeichel as well. He was someone who brought a Barca style of play to Denmark. He is one of the reasons why Denmark were so successful in Euro 1992 when they didn't even qualify. They didn't even qualify for the tournament because of a technicality. I'm using a lot of Andy Tate references as well. Don't know why, it just came to me. But yeah, and yes, Michael Laudrup is catalyst for Denmark being such a great ball-playing team in the early 90s and actually winning the European Championships before England have as well. So it goes to show that they're still one of the most successful European teams because of that European Championship and still the successful one sec. There's a fly in here. Successful Scandinavian teams of all time, which is pretty good. And it goes to show that it's just one of the good ones for Michael Laudrup. This fly is really annoying. You know when you've got a buzz next to you,
just completely really throwing you off your game. Yeah, I've been there.
It happens a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, Michael Laudrup, Christian Eriksen. I believe that's my 3 Danish players all used up. So
yeah, that's right.
I can't use certain strikers that we'll mention later from Denmark, which is not great at all. So I'm going to have to rely upon where you're going with this one. So where are you going with this one, Travis, for your second choice centre midfielder?
I'm diversifying again. It's going to be a very attacking midfield lineup, this one, but I'm going for Gylfi Sigurdsson, my first Icelandic pick.
Is he allowed?
In what sense?
In the sense of what he's done or been accused of doing, or?
Well, it's all accusations and allegations, isn't it? Until anything's proven, he's in my team.
It's actually true because with the footballers, it's guilty until proven innocent, as opposed to innocent until proven guilty. So,
yeah, it's difficult topic because obviously, the normal rules don't apply when it's a public figure. But I think that's a whole other podcast entirely, isn't it? So
Russell Brand entirely agree with you on that one.
We'll try and avoid that if we can, but
definitely
strictly sticking to his on the pitch ability. I've just always been a huge fan of Gylfi Sigurdsson. I think Tottenham made a huge mistake letting him go at the time. It was obviously a long time ago, but when we let him go, I think he was probably our best midfielder, bearing in mind that we had, we'd not yet signed Eriksen, to my knowledge. He was just, brilliant. Really, really good player. So tidy on the ball. Obviously had that long range shooting ability that not many players are able to master, but he could. We sold him to Swansea and then he became a bit of a cult hero there. I think there was good probably 2 or 3 seasons where Sigurdsson probably single-handedly kept them in the Premier League. Fernando Llorente did his job as well, but it was when them 2 left that they immediately just went down after that. And I think that was a testament to just how good he was and how irreplaceable, he was to a lower half of the table team. So yeah, Sigurdsson's in there for me. It's a shame his career has gone the way it has done since he joined Everton. But yeah, the less said about that poison chalice of a club, the better, probably.
Indeed, it is. Moving on to my left midfielder, not a winger per se, because he also played at left back at times. This is another one that I could say the streets will never forget. It is my final Norwegian pick. I'm going out on a limb for this one. He had a wonder of a left foot. He was someone in the Premier League where whenever you would play against this team, you would think of him immediately because of his strikingly blonde hair, his incredible wonder of a left foot, like I said as well, and his amazing name, Morten Gamst Pedersen. Going for him as like my left winger.
I'm so glad you picked this one because obviously I've just finished my Norwegian picks with Odegaard. I couldn't not pick Odegaard really, but yeah. I desperately wanted Pedersen left mid. So I'm really glad you've picked him so we can talk about him.
He's just if you talk about streets we'll never forget, you'll normally think about like the flary plays, the attacking plays, the players that brought joy to the game, but I still put Morten Gamst Pedersen in that list because he did have a bit of flair. He did have an amazing technique of volleys, of crosses, free kicks. I remember always like trying to buy him on FIFA 08 and 09 as like a backup winger for Ryan Giggs because he's always retiring in the season that you're playing with Man United and you're like, you need another left winger. Who you can go for? Morten Gamst Pedersen. Whip the ball in. It would have been really good to see him at a bigger club than Blackburn, respectively. But he was a fantastic player and he contributed a lot in terms of free kick goals. Yeah, do you remember that? He scored a lot of free kicks, Morten Gamst Pedersen.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he had crazy left foot, didn't he? He was just, such a flair player and a great player. And like you say, streets won't forget is absolutely the phrase that first comes to mind when you think about him. I think what separates him from the rest of the streets won't forget players that sort of come to mind is that sort of category of players is kind of, your Delta Abs and people like that. Like you mentioned, the flair players. I think Morten Gamst Pedersen had a bit of like, I'm struggling to think of the words without swearing, but he had a bit of a horrible streak to him and he could get stuck in and he'd get in a bit of a scrap. And he was that sort of player as well as being so good on the ball and such a flair player. And I don't think there's many other streets won't forget type of players who had that about them, but he certainly did. And yeah, he's just one of those Premier League legends that I think everybody loves.
Absolutely. A few Premier League stats for him as well. He played 259 games in the Premier League, 34 goals, had 39 assists in the Premier League. And I think for a lot of people, with Morten Gamst Pedersen, they're like, oh yeah, he did this, he did that. But he actually contributed a lot to Blackburn Rovers staying in the Premier League season in, season out, because when he ended up leaving Blackburn Rovers, that's when they got relegated. I think they got relegated in 2012 when he actually did leave. That was his final season. But when he was there from 2004 to 2012, he was a proper stalwart for Blackburn Rovers, and he was there from the beginning to the end, really. And I think he's a fantastic player to watch. And if anyone here is listening in terms of who they want to learn from in terms of crossing a ball, best technique I've seen from a mid-table player. And that's no disrespect to him. It's the fact that I think he could have gone a lot further than where he was respectively as well.
He's still playing as well. Can you believe he's 42 years old and he's still playing in Norway? That is crazy.
Is a player coach in Norway. Shout out Morten Gamst Pedersen, man. You're someone who made a lot of people happy with their left-footed. Made a lot of people happy in terms of watching left-footed players. And as you know, and a lot of people know, when you watch left-footed players, they're normally aesthetically pleasing to watch on the eye. And Morten Gamst Pedersen definitely was in the Premier League at the time, so I would happily go for a shout for Morten Gamst Pedersen. Now I need to know who your shout is for your left midfielder, Travis, and which country you're going for.
I'm going for one that I'm hoping is screwing you over based on a brief comment you made earlier. I'm going back to Iceland again, and I'm going for Odegaard Johnson.
What? How can you put Johnson at left mid and Hippier right back?
Because Gudjonsson did play left mid at times. He did. He absolutely did. I know that for a fact.
I know he did, but it's like it's a disservice because honestly, he was going to be my second striker behind Zlatan.
He would have been perfect for that as well, just playing that little centre forward number 10 role just behind the big man up front. That would have been great. So I'm a little bit gutted that you haven't had him, but I just had to get him in there. Like I say, I've gone for a ridiculously attacking lineup. I've obviously got probably one of the most attacking left backs that Premier League's seen with Risa. I've got two I've got a winger on the right hand side, a striker on the left hand side, and two attacking midfielders and centre mid. I was just sticking with that all guns blazing, gung ho approach of all out attack. And yeah, like I say, it feels a little bit of a disservice to put him on the left because he was definitely best at striker, or at least sort of second striker behind the number 9. But he was good enough to play on the left as well, so I'm putting him in there. I think a lot of people forget that. Again, this is a biased Tottenham pick because he did have a very brief loan spell at Tottenham in the early 2010s. So he's going in there for me, and he's another one that I can claim as a Tottenham player as well.
Allow me to read out Odegaard Johnson's trophy cabinet, just for everyone listening. In terms of if you've never heard of him, you're going to hear about him now. So, 7-time Football of the Year for Icelandic Football of the Year. The first Icelandic player to win the Champions League with Barcelona. So he's won one Champions League. The first Icelandic player to win 2 Premier Leagues with Chelsea. The first Icelandic player to win Spanish champion with Barcelona. He's actually the first Icelandic player to actually win the treble with Barcelona. You're getting my point. He's the trailblazer for Icelandic football on the biggest of stage, winning it with Barcelona. When Pep Guardiola doesn't get rid of you in his first season, and he likes the way that you play, because he can play with Messi, he can play with Henry, he can play with Eto'o. He was there when Ronaldinho left, and he kept Odegaard Johnson. Like, Pep Guardiola wanted Odegaard Johnson over Ronaldinho, which goes to show how cool Odegaard Johnson was on the ball. His style of play, his amazing technical ability for a second striker. And he also won the Dutch Championship in his younger days with PSV Eindhoven as well. But Jose Mourinho rated him. Pep Guardiola rated him. If you didn't rate Odegaard Johnson growing up, like, it shows that you didn't really know much about football, because Odegaard Johnson was a baller. He was a top baller. And unfortunately, he did it really well against Man United a few times as well. Barcelona, Chelsea especially. First game of the season, I'm on holiday. I land where I think I was in Dubai. I'm on holiday. I land. I watch the highlights for the first game. Odegaard Johnson scores at Stamford Bridge, and I'm like, oh my days, not this guy again. And it's just there all the time. And shout out to Odegaard Johnson, man, a fantastic player and someone who I've appreciated when he grows up. And a lot of players nowadays play like Odegaard Johnson, and that's a statement you won't hear a lot, because people will be like, oh, it's just Odegaard Johnson, don't really care about him. But he was ahead of his time, just like you said about Daniel Agger. Fantastic player to watch, and a fantastic catalyst for Scandinavian and Icelandic football, respectively. Right. Before we get on to our final strikers, any what's the time? Well, I forgot. Any honorable mentions for our midfielders? Who have you got?
Let's have a quick look. I was very close to picking Thomas Delaney.
Yeah, I was as well. Holding midfielder.
Yeah, one of the most underrated midfielders, I think, in Europe over the last sort of 10 years. So I was tempted with Sanderberg, but didn't really fancy going there. Johan Berg Gudmundsson was one that I kind of half felt like picking, who had a spell at Burnley. I watched him a few times when he was at Burnley, and I always thought
we just mentioned Gudmundsson as well, in terms of the fact that he was the catalyst for England losing to Iceland in Euro 2016 with his long throw-ins, and the fact that Roy Hodgson and Gary Neville, who watched Premier League football all the time, didn't want to take note of that before going to European Championships, and didn't want to notice how to defend against Gudmundsson, goes to show that, yeah, he is made his mark on English football. Gudmundsson has. Yeah,
he's got his own piece of history there, hasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah, that was a fun game. Bringing on Jack Wilshere at halftime, yeah. Good one, Roy Hodgson. Good one, Gary Neville. That's why you need to stay in the studio, Gary Neville.
That was the night of my prom, that was, my high school prom. I was
no way.
I was at the prom, and the DJ was occasionally pausing the music to give us live match updates to the England versus Iceland game. And I think, did we go a goal behind? We did, didn't we?
We finished 1-0. I think Rooney scored the penalty, and then that's when we lost the lead. Who loses a lead to Iceland in the European Championship?
So we were a goal up, were we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense now. I can remember us going a goal up and everyone being elated on the dance floor. Yeah. And then I remember him saying, oh, sorry guys, Iceland have equalised. And everyone was like, oh. And there was a big lull, especially when the second goal went in. It was like everyone was it was half and half. There was people trying to keep the party going who weren't particularly bothered about football. And then there was all the lads who were bothered about football, who were all absolutely gutted because we were going to lose against a country with a population the size of Coventry. It was, not a great night for me, to be fair.
on and off topic, that's quite crazy. When you think about the population of some countries compared to other countries, and some countries are huge in terms of like China, India, Russia, for example, compared to like Iceland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, for example. And they've got quality in football. It shows what some countries prioritize over others as well in terms of sport, which is quite crazy. But yeah, as is this crazy final pick for both of us, both of our wild cards were strikers. Travis needs a partner for Erling Brandt Haaland, and I need a partner for Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And yeah, let's crack on with it. I'll go first with this one. We've got 3 from Norway, so I can't pick a certain Norwegian that I've brushed up.
I feel like I regret not saving a Norwegian pick for him as well. I know exactly who you're talking about. John Carew, yeah.
I was thinking of John Carew. Alexander Sorloth of Real Sociedad, my boy. Denmark, I've used 3 years.
Were you not talking about Solskjaer?
No, I definitely talk about Solskjaer.
I was going to say, I was joking at first, and it seemed like you'd forgot about him.
No, he's definitely on my list. Denmark, I can't use as well, so I can't even use Martin Braithwaite, the former Barcelona striker, so I can't use him.
And Middlesbrough. Don't forget Middlesbrough.
He is amazing at Middlesbrough. Finland, I've got Sweden. Sweden. Thankfully. Henrik Larsson. Thank you.
I'm surprised it took you that long to get to that.
I'm looking through my list normally because I don't make notes on these kind of drafts. I'm just kind of there like, oh yeah, let's go. But that's my third and final pick for Sweden. Henrik Larsson and Zlatan Ibrahimovic are my front 2. And let me talk about Henrik Larsson because I feel like I talk about him like once a year on the podcast in a big detail. So let me go ahead and talk about Henrik Larsson in terms of how underrated this striker was. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Barcelona don't win that 2006 Champions League without Henrik Larsson. Everyone talks about how Iniesta came off the bench and changed the game, but Henrik Larsson was the one with the 2 assists. He was the one that was dictating the play. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Iniesta, he came off the bench. Messi was on the bench and he didn't come on. But Henrik Larsson was a goal scorer at Sweden. He was a maestro at Sweden. He was someone who he dictated a whole league in Sweden, Henrik Larsson did. And it goes to show how talented he was when he went to play for Frank Rijkaard at Barcelona. It's also quite funny as well. If anyone's got the chance to watch this interview, Thierry Henry is a bit annoyed after losing the Champions League final in Paris in his home country to Barcelona. He then goes to Sky Sports, I think, and he says there was no Ronaldinho, there was no Eto'o on the pitch today. It was all about Henrik Larsson. You can talk about Ronaldinho and Eto'o all you want, but Henrik Larsson was the one that pulled the strings, and that's when real recognizes real, my friend. And with Henrik Larsson as well, won the Champions League with Barcelona, won the Scottish Championship 4 times, won the Dutch Championship with final 2 times as well. Is one of the best ever Swedish footballers to ever play the game. His son, Jordan Larsson, now plays for FC Copenhagen, which is insane. But his greatest moment in football was his 3-month loan spell to Manchester United from January to March 2007. And because it was so great, he actually got a Premier League medal. Did you know Sir Alex Ferguson actually bended the rules for this one because he didn't get the right amount of games or the certain amount of games to win a Premier League medal, but Sir Alex Ferguson requested that Henrik Larsson, because of his impact, because of his influence on the team that he had for 3 months, got a Premier League medal, and the Premier League obliged. So Henrik Larsson is officially a Premier League winner with Manchester United, and fantastic player, amazing player to watch, and 104 caps for his country for Sweden, 37 goals for his country, and an amazing player. And other strikers I could have picked, but I'm very happy with Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Henrik Larsson as my front 2.
Yeah, that's an absolutely tasty front 2. Did he only play? How many games did he play for United then? I didn't realize he'd not played enough to win a medal.
Yeah, he only played 7 games in the Premier League.
That's crazy.
And
absolutely
1 goal.
Crazy. Considering the reputation that he's got amongst United fans. I mean, I don't think I have spoken to a United fan of the age category to have watched him who doesn't love Henrik Larsson. And considering he only played 7 games and he's got that kind of love from the United fans, that is just absolutely crazy. How you achieve that kind of level of cult hero status in 7 games is crazy.
Because even Suki was talking about it when he played foot golf as well. Like, Henrik Larsson is as a Man United player, and for some people, they'll still remember him as a Man United player for scoring a couple goals. Scored, I think, a big vital goal against Aston Villa as well. I think it was rather in the FA Cup on our way to the FA Cup. So it goes to show how well he's actually done for Manchester United. But we all love him from his Celtic days, especially from his Sweden days, scoring an amazing diving header in the Euro 2004. That was one of my favourite goals from Henrik Larsson as well. So it goes to show what a talented player he is. And just like I said, I'll send you, Travis, the link later to the Ronaldinho and the Eto'o outburst from Thierry Henry, but he was a fantastic player to watch as well. I'm so glad I've got him in my team. But who's completing your team, Travis, with Erling Haaland up front?
I think whoever I pick, I'm going to struggle to have a front two as good as Henrik Larsson and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I'm really going to struggle.
This is where you're lying. You're lying. You've got Haaland up front, man. You can't go worse than
even so. I don't think there's an option as good as Larsson who I can choose.
Timo Pukki.
Yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated at myself for not saving a Norwegian pick for Solskjaer. I'm a little bit frustrated, but
we're gonna get comments for that. How are you leaving Solskjaer out?
Yeah, honestly,
it's a draft. It's the limit.
It's a really tough one now. It's either Pukki or Isak for me.
So you can't use Denmark, no?
I could use Denmark, but I'm certainly not going for Martin Brathwaite.
You got John Dal Thomason, one of the best. He's a very good striker.
Yeah, I know, but I'd rather talk about players that I've watched, and I've not really watched him, to be honest with you. I've obviously heard of him, I know of him, but never really watched him. I'm going to go for Alexander Isak just because of the potential that he's got. Obviously, Pukki has scored more Premier League goals, probably scored more goals internationally, I would imagine. But yeah, Isak, I think, has the potential to be up there. And I think based on current Premier League strikers, if you were picking a front two, if you're picking two strikers who currently play in the Premier League to start up front next to each other, Haaland would obviously walk into it. Isak would probably be my other choice, just from his versatility, his ability to be able to shift out wide and let other players come in centrally. I think he'd be a great...
His balance on the ball as well.
Yeah, honestly.
Haaland's aggressiveness.
He's a scary player, Isak. He's the kind of player that I feel like it could be good against any opponent because he's got so many strengths.
Except Austria, where he missed 3 chances. And I'm like, damn it, man. Damn it. I flew all the way out here and you can't even score a goal, for goodness sake.
I think it'll drop for him. The penny will drop. And he's been brilliant for Newcastle since he's signed, since day one. The fans seem to love him already. But I do think we're still waiting for him to go to that next level and really elevate the appearances and the performances.
The consistency, really, yeah.
Yeah, he scored a great goal, an absolute goal of the season contender. Oh, no, sorry, not goal. It was a assist, wasn't it? Against Everton, I want to say. Jacob Murphy's goal last season. And everything about that just shows exactly why he's so good. His composure on the ball, his ability to go past a man, his speed is scary considering he's so tall and strong. He's a brilliant player, and I think I've spoke about him a couple of times on the pod previously because I'm a big fan. So I'm excited to see what he does with the rest of his career. To be fair, but yeah, alongside Haaland, I'm quite happy with that choice.
Nicely done. This is the difficult time where we both have to read out our teams, and we both have to realize actually there's a few players we've both missed out. So Travis, I'll allow you to do the honors for your team first. Back to front, what have we got, Travis?
Okay, so in goal, I've got Peter Schmeichel. I've gone for a back 4 of Sami Hyypiä on the right, Victor Lindelof, who I'm wishing that I'd have picked Olof Mellberg instead because I didn't realise he was Swedish. So shout out to Olof Mellberg. I wish I'd have picked you. Daniel Agger, partner in Lindelof, and John Arnerisa at left back. My midfield is a flat 4 across the midfield with Dejan Kulusevski on the right, Martin Odegaard and Gylfi Sigurdsson in the middle, and Ida Gudjonsson on the left-hand side. And then I've got a front 2 with Erling Haaland probably staying central, sticking to that number 9 position. And I'm going to have Alexander Isak partnering him in that free roam role where he can drop deep if he wants to. He can pull over to the left and let Gudjonsson come inside. He can go over to the right and let Kulusevski come inside. I'm really enjoying the look of this team, actually. I think that Isak pick, being able to drift wide like he does so effectively, the players that I've got on the wings, Kulusevski and Gudjonsson, would be so good at cutting in. So I think him being able to drift wide on either side makes that a very versatile attacking lineup. So yeah, that's my team.
Ida Gudjonsson would be the glue for that team as well in terms of just that in that attack, in that final third. He would just knit everything together.
I think he'd be my captain. Looking at it, if I was picking a I know we don't really bother with captains, but it'd be Gudjonsson or Schmeichel, I think. And I'm not a big fan of goalkeeper captains. I prefer an outfielder, so I'd probably go
Says
for
the man who
Johnson.
watched Hugo Lloris for years as captain.
Exactly. I'm not a great fan.
Good team, that good team. Now, my one. Did you write mine down, or am I gonna freeload it? Oh, let me freeload it.
I did write it down, yeah, if you want
Let
me to send it to you.
Nah, you can say it out loud if that's okay.
Okay, yeah. We've for Hamza's team, then we've got UC Askelainen in goal. We've got back four of Joachim Meiler, Ronnie Jonsson, Henning Berg, and Herman Hreidarsson.
Man United bias.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Another flat midfield like mine of Freddie Lundberg on the right, Christian Eriksen and Michael Laudrup in the middle, and Morten Gamst Pedersen on the left hand side.
Left out Thomas Gravesen as well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's a good point. We've got then one of the best strike partnerships of all time: Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Henrik Larsson. You can't.
Man United bias as well.
Yeah, there is a lot of Man United presence in that team actually. Eriksen, Ibra, Larsson, Jonsson, Berg. Yeah.
Yeah. If I had Schmeichel, I'd have had the whole spine as Man United, which is
that's true. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. You beat me to it, which is the case. But yeah, before we wrap up the podcast, now we've got to decide who are the top 5 Scandinavian players currently. No, not currently. We'll do all time, actually. We'll do all time. Number 5. Who would you put at number 5, Travis? It's a joint list. It's not going to be individual. So from all the players we've spoken about, who makes it onto the list?
Number 5. Let's have a look. It's difficult to go from 5 down to 1 because I've got to think who's above them. Let me just have a quick look.
All I'm saying is Schmeichel is top 2.
Schmeichel's top 2 easily. Yeah, I wouldn't go him. I'm gonna go for Christian Eriksen. I'm gonna put it number 5. Yeah,
nicely done. Number 4, I'm gonna go for. I think I'll go for. This is gonna be controversial, but I'm gonna go for him already. Erling Haaland at number 4.
I like it.
Who's your number 3?
Number 3. Oh, it's getting tough now, isn't it? Let's have a look. I'm gonna go for at number 3. Do you know? I feel like Haaland could have gone in a little bit later. I feel like there's a good. I'm gonna go Michael Laudrup number 3. I think
Michael Laudrup
probably the best choice for number 3.
Number 2. Now I've got 3, but I can't put 3 into 2. So Pete Schmeichel's got to be in there. So I'm definitely going to put Pete Schmeichel at number 2. Amazing goalkeeper. Now we've got a number 1. It's rather number 1, or this guy just gets left out because of our Russian roulette system. So we have to agree on number 1 for this one. And I think Zlatan Ibrahimovic would be a great
shout. Zlatan would have been my shout. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. He was the one I was pretty much saving for number 1.
So that means Henrik Larsson must be number 6 then, because Eriksen, Haaland, Laudrup, Schmeichel, and Zlatan make up our list, which would be good. Sorry, Henrik Larsson. As much as I was glorifying you earlier, you didn't even make our top 5 list. But it's a joint list. So I'll blame Travis if you ever listen to this one as well.
Hey, you put him in. You put Haaland in at number 4, mate. That could have been Larsson all day long. I think this is on you.
It could have been. But you also said Haaland could have gone in earlier. But it is what it is, as we say. But no, I'm happy with that list. It's a fantastic list. And Erling Haaland, when we look back at it in like 3 years' time, Erling Haaland will be like numero uno, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah,
after what is achieving. As long as they achieve it at international level, that's all you can say, which is pretty good as well. And it has been a pretty good podcast. I've enjoyed this draft. And it's quite nice doing a draft just with the two of us as well, because it was a very difficult topic, this one as well. As much as the countries that we had to look through, neither of us picked a Faroe Islands player because we couldn't find it. We both had to name one. Couldn't find one that would have been on this level that a lot of them were at. But yeah, shout out to Scandinavian countries as well. A very big developing part in the footballing world, and lots to look forward to with their younger players coming up forward. One young player I got to watch, Jesper Karlsson from Sweden. He was a fantastic winger. He came off the bench and did a really good job as well. And he's not a young player as well, but Emil Forsberg, shout out to him. I thought he was a fantastic player of the years, and playing in for RB Leipzig now has been a fantastic servant for them for a good number of years as well. But I think we'll talk about a lot more Scandinavian ballers over the season coming, as we are doing on our podcast anyway, which is really
Someone else who we haven't mentioned just quickly, which I didn't mention because he's before my time. And like I told you earlier, I don't really like to talk about players I haven't watched. Jari Litmanen, I think a lot of people would probably be frustrated that we've not picked.
Liverpool fans especially.
yeah, widely regarded as one of the sort of best attacking midfield players of his generation. So I think, yeah, he would be one that is missed out probably more of an age thing more than anything, especially with myself. So yeah, but shout out to Littmanen as well.
Nicely done. Brede Hangeland, last one for me. Fulham centre back.
Yes, yeah, huge, huge head.
Yes. Someone who could have gone to a bigger club as well, but he stayed at Fulham respectively,
Yeah,
which is
good
great as
player.
well. Very good centre back on his day. But yeah, that's the end of the day for us. Everyone, thank you very much for listening on this week's podcast. It's been great to have you all on listen as well. Do send us your favorite all-time Scandinavian teams and your Scandinavian players going forward. As you know, we are talking a lot more about European football and world football over this season, and I'm glad you're all enjoying it. And the feedback we're getting is fantastic. Recently hitting #1 on FeedSpot's #1 podcast, which is incredible for British Asian podcasts as well. And more to it, I guess. We're going to continue bringing you more and more content. We're going to be bringing better quality over the season, and mostly because it's just better to do it this way. It's better to learn in this manner as well. It's better to bring content for what people want to see and want to listen to as well. And hopefully we don't get too much flack, Travis, for not including Odegaard and Solskjaer in our, or Rasmus Hojlund as well. We know there'll be Rasmus Hojlund fans already who'll be like, oh, why didn't you put him in?
It's a bit early for Hojlund, I think. Give it a couple of years and he'd be in the conversation probably.
No one can argue about our front two. That's all I'm saying. Either of our front two, no one can argue with them.
Yeah,
That's
I'd
all I'm
agree with
saying.
that. Yeah, if I'd not picked 3 Norwegians already, Solskjaer walked into my team. But
Because the way I
considering
see it, you went for the present great strikers and I went for the past great strikers. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, it's like this generation versus the last one. Yeah, it's quite cool actually, that one.
I got the excuses out early, as everyone can hear as well, which is great. But no, everyone, thank you very much for listening. Take care, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Take care, and do subscribe to us on YouTube as well. A lot more YouTube content coming out for you to enjoy. See you later, and goodbye.